There's been this sort of LeBron slander that I just really don't understand.
How so?
Okay, well, it starts with Mario Chalmers. Now, Mario Chalmers is a former teammate of LeBron, former guest on this show, in fact, and, you know, always had like a little brother kind of situation with LeBron James, right? Like Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and LeBron kind of treated him like a little brother. But he had this to say about how teams viewed LeBron.
Nobody fears Bron. Nobody's like, damn, I gotta go play this Bron. Right? Nobody said that. I don't know why.
Right.
Because I've seen people be scared when they actually line up to him, but they're not scared thinking about that matchup.
Right.
You hear anybody from that era talk about going against Jordan, there's a fear.
Right. Okay, that was on the Playmaker HQ podcast. So kind of insinuating that people don't fear LeBron like they feared playing against Michael Jordan. Now, that's not it. We also had Chris Broussard, who's on Fox Sports, said this is what he heard about LeBron versus Kobe and how it was put to him by a player who remains anonymous.
It was like the difference in fighting Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather. You know you're going to lose to both because they're both great, but it's going to be painful and it's going to hurt more to fight Tyson than it is Floyd. Floyd will beat you, but he's not going to hurt you. And that's the feeling like with LeBron. It's not really a greatness thing. It is just when a dude is going for your jugular versus when a dude just going to outplay you.
And that was on First Things First.
I don't feel like those are big shots at LeBron by any means.
You don't?
No, I mean, it points to the different styles between Kobe, MJ, and LeBron. Kobe and MJ would play all these mental games, and LeBron will just, as they said, just go out there and outplay you and win the game. It's just, they're so different. Those three guys. Kobe obviously followed Michael Jordan, loner. But, you know, Kobe famously wouldn't practice with his team in the offseason because he didn't want anyone to see his moves. Those guys were just killers.
Yeah.
Where LeBron's just like, I'm better than you. I'm going to outplay you. And it was way more personal with Kobe and MJ.
See, I find that interesting. I don't know why LeBron doesn't have a reputation of being a killer.
Because he's best friends with everybody in the league.
Okay, but he's best friends. Okay, so maybe he feels like he's a little more big brother of the league, now uncle of the league. But that could be strategic on LeBron's part. LeBron also basically, I know he can't say he owns it, but he basically owns a player agency as well. Clutch Sports.
Definitely. Could you see MJ or Kobe owning a sports agency?
No, but that just means LeBron's a good businessman. Like, he's now going to have guys he's going to be making money off of these guys' contracts now for as long as he has an agency. Like, don't mistake kindness for weakness.
Well, I don't think anyone's saying he's weak. It's his style is so different. Maybe that's why it's different. You know, I remember one story Chris Webber said that MJ, the Washington, I think they were the Wizards at the time, were playing the Bulls, and they show up in the bus, and Michael Jordan's sitting there on a Ferrari smoking a cigar, staring at them and not talking to them as they walk by. That was so Michael Jordan. He was going to win the game before it started. He was going to get in your head. He was going to make it personal. He would outplay you, but he would also try to intimidate you and scare you, which didn't always work. But that was his style. That's not LeBron at all.
Right. I guess because Jordan is so revered, more revered than LeBron is.
And feared, too. He was feared in a much different way than LeBron.
Right. It kind of feels like it's a dig. Right? To say when Mario Chalmers says that people didn't fear LeBron like they feel Jordan, you don't think that comes off as sounding like it's a negative towards LeBron? And like, by the way, I think there are a lot of teams who feared LeBron. I mean, you have whole franchises who have never beaten him in the playoffs. Like, I'd be scared of that.
But Chalmers said once you actually got in the gym and you lined up against him, you were definitely afraid then. So I think that sort of pulled it back. And I think it was pointing to difference. Both quotes say the same exact thing. They point to very different styles. Jordan, if you watch him, was trying to make it very personal. He was trying to get these enemies. That was for him,
though, right?
That was for him, but also he talked trash at an unbelievable level. I don't ever see LeBron being like that because LeBron doesn't have to. LeBron just gets out there and just kills you with his game.
Right.
I don't think he tries to kill you with words and intimidation.
Yeah, I just like the Broussard thing though about the players saying that that Kobe was more cutthroat than LeBron is. Like, where's
you
the
disagree
evidence?
With that?
But why? Because like Kobe. Why? Because he wanted to embarrass people more? Like,
he was so famously individualistic and so shunned everybody. I told you, he'd work out behind closed doors. He would not practice with other NBA players in the summer because he was so, he wanted to be so different from them. He never wanted to show any softness towards them. He wasn't as good as LeBron, and I think he had to do that. See, I don't see that as a dig against LeBron. The other thing, too, is if you're a player and LeBron comes out there, I don't think you're taking it so personally if he beats you up and kills you. He's 6'9", runs ridiculously fast, jumps through the gym.
Yeah.
Of course LeBron's going to dunk on you. There's no shame in that. But Kobe...
And LeBron will play bully ball. Like, you'd be you'd be hurting more after playing LeBron than you are going to hurt more after playing Kobe.
Right. But say you got... how about this? It's in the 90s. You get outplayed by Karl Malone. Yeah, you get outplayed by him. He's bigger and stronger and faster than you, but that doesn't really hurt your ego. But if Michael Jordan, he would put you on about 4 posters a game and just make you look silly, and then he would yell at you and make you feel like less of a man.
What are you talking about, feelings?
So I just think I think that's exactly what Jordan and Kobe feasted off of. They really tried to get in other people's heads.
There's also, and listen, I understand that we are the people who build these guys up. Yeah. And some guys deserve it, and their play matches the myth. But there's also a lot of that. There's a lot of something that LeBron does not get any of. There's no mythology of LeBron. The best thing about, and the one thing about LeBron's mythology is that he was so hyped coming out of high school and not only matched that hype, but surpassed it, right? Yeah. That's the myth. That's his mythology. That's his origin story. That's all, for Michael, and we just watched the Air movie last night, which is just all about him signing with Nike and the shoe. Like, there's this not even larger than life, like godlike about Jordan, and then also about Kobe, and now will forever be there about Kobe because he's since passed away. But I remember hearing a story about Kobe used to talk about these blackout workouts, and they were these famous workouts where he said he would work out until he blacked out. And then he told Ramona Shelburne once, it's all BS. I don't do that at all. I would never do something like that. He was creating his own myth story. Kobe was this amazing storyteller. He wanted to tell this story about himself. Some of it wasn't even true.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. That does happen. Okay, you know who's a killer on the court? Steph Curry.
Yes, but Steph Curry is a killer.
But his style is particularly different than Kobe Bryant's style. You have to see there's a gigantic difference between the two of them. LeBron is closer to Steph Curry. In fact, I would be willing to bet after the Cavs beat them in the 2016 finals that at some point that summer, LeBron called Steph Curry and suggested a red wine. That's where they are in today's NBA.
Team up,
Kobe, probably. Or it was definitely buddy-buddy. Kobe and MJ, no. I'm sure Michael Jordan beat Magic Johnson in the finals and probably was never kind to him at all. Look at his Hall of Fame speech. It was a giant middle finger to every grade in the game.
And so was The Last Dance.
That's LeBron. He was just so, I think that's what they're hitting. I'm sorry, that's Jordan. He was just so viciously competitive in a much different way than LeBron.
I know, but what I dislike about this is I feel like it comes off as a slight on LeBron. Just because he doesn't have that particular chip on his shoulder, because he doesn't, have Jordan's absolutely insane, is it even pettiness? I mean, whatever that was.
Yeah.
That somehow makes him lesser than Jordan. Like,
why are you defending LeBron? Who cares?
We fetishize, though, Jordan's, his intensity to a point that, is crazy. Normally, if someone punches a teammate at practice, let alone 2, and that's the only ones we've actually heard about, who knows how many more there could be, that's not generally something that we revere. That's not something generally you put on a pedestal. I know stuff happens, pickup games, stuff like that, but punching teammates is not generally someone's like, wow, that guy's a great teammate because he punched Steve Kerr in the face. That's ridiculous.
But it's so funny. Why do you feel this urge to step up for LeBron James? Because is it the many hours of LeBron MJ debate you and I have had?
Yes, and every other person. I don't know. I guess it kind of bothers me as a fan of LeBron. And it's not that it means I'm not a fan of Michael and I'm not a fan of Kobe. I'm a fan of all of theirs. But as a fan of LeBron, I feel like he somehow gets dismissed in some ways, he doesn't have this killer instinct just because he doesn't wear it on his sleeve like Michael Jordan did.
Yeah, but I think those guys had accurate points. I don't think LeBron was playing the same kind of mind games, and I don't think he needed to be honest. He has the same they both said he has the same results. He goes out there and win the game. It's just how he wins a game. I think that's what they were talking about, and I agree with them because especially Kobe. I mean, Kobe was He was ridiculous. You have to admit. But based on everything, he was just
to his own team though. Same as Jordan.
Yeah. He was. I don't think he was as talented as LeBron or Michael Jordan, but he had that killer thing probably more than both of them.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, he's known for being such a loner and all of that, but meanwhile, half the league, believes he was their mentor.
Yeah,
Kyrie Irving said that.
Tatum. All later on, though. I mean,
Booker.
Yeah. Those guys came in the league as he was leaving. That was weird too, but it's a good point.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Patrick is in South Carolina. What's up, Patrick? How are you?
Hey, how y'all doing? I just wanted to add to this whole conversation. It's probably the best story I ever heard to reinforce the fact about Kobe in a whole other level. But I heard a story about him when they played Spain in the Olympics, that before they threw the tip-off, he said, I'm going to set the tone by laying a pick on Gasol, his teammate back in L.A., and lay him out and set the tone for the game, and that's what he did.
That's a great point.
He was excellent in that gold medal game. Him and Dwayne Wade won that gold medal for the United States. I mean, they were so good. It's a little like Ohtani and Trout last night, actually, where Ohtani strikes out Trout to win the World Baseball Classic, and he celebrated that like it was even bigger than a World Series.
Patrick's example is a great one, though, because that's exactly the fact that Kobe went out there and laid out Gasol. That was the game was over right then because of Kobe. I mean, LeBron would never do that. He would never, ever do that. Even LeBron in the documentary was like, wow, I would never do that.
He wouldn't go at Zydrunas Ilgauskas if they were playing in the Olympics?
No, he would not set a pretty illegal pick on one of his teammates. I think LeBron even said that. That's a great – the LeBron-Kobe interactions in that documentary are so great. Another thing, too, Darren Williams, I think, was a star of that game. Yeah. So that was bizarre. Wade saved their butt.
And now Darren Williams is like boxing, isn't he?
I have no idea. After he ruined the Nets, I think that this is going to be. I think even Wade is closer to MJ in those sense than LeBron is. I think Dwayne Wade had that sort of thing, whereas LeBron's so hyper talented that it's hard. He doesn't need to do that MJ thing to beat you either.
I don't know, but I don't know I don't actually know the motivation that LeBron has. Like, he doesn't put it out there like Jordan did. Like, I can't imagine. We don't have that origin story of him getting cut from the JV team. Yes. There's nothing like that. Yes, his rough upbringing and then becoming the star that he had. That's what we have about LeBron. But
Kobe had to do that stuff to be the single best player in the game. I think Jordan probably had to do it too. LeBron has not had to do it. Yeah, it comes off like a dig, but those guys both said, you know what, he got to the W, and that's going to be his legacy. I mean, he is an incredibly winning player.
Yeah. Let's go to Josh is in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. What's up, Josh? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing great.
Yeah, to me, it's pretty simple. It's kind of the age-old tale of art versus physical talent. LeBron's basically, like the big softy that's, easygoing, and he doesn't have to come up, dealing with the same physical battles that maybe other players did because he's always been more physically gifted. If I was going to make an analogy to football, it'd be like Jerry Rice, and Randy Moss. A lot of people, especially younger people, think of Randy Moss as quote-unquote the GOAT. But if you look at the two, Jerry Rice didn't have the speed. He didn't have the size. There's no way he should have been the greatest wide receiver of all time. But he had heart, 10 times more than anybody out there on the field, and that's how he accomplished what he accomplished.
Josh, it's a good point. I like how you're saying it. The one thing is, though, is I feel like because, and I think maybe do we do this to Kareem a little bit too? Like, LeBron having the size and the body that he has didn't automatically mean he was going to become one of, if not the greatest basketball player of all time. You also have to give credit to LeBron for what he added to his game, how multifaceted his game has, became. It's not as much anymore. Obviously, the guy's 38, but how multifaceted he became, added stuff, and just because he was big doesn't mean he could coast. And I appreciate that about LeBron. He would go and work with Hakeem and work on the post stuff, and then obviously his three-point shooting, which kind of goes in and out, but you know what I'm saying? He was never the defensive player that Michael Jordan was, obviously, but it feels weird to say, oh, he's just bigger than everybody, so he could coast on his size.
Yeah, but I don't think in that analogy, Randy Moss wasn't really coasting. He did coast at certain plays, but I do think that his point was LeBron's like Randy Moss, where he's going to just wow you with. He's just bigger, stronger, faster, better,
right?
Better than everybody else. I understand his analogy. Dwayne Wade was closer to Jerry Rice, where there was something. There's some work ethic thing that's a little different. Because Dwayne Wade, I don't think physically should have been able to lead his team to a title. I mean, he was 6'5", he was a good jumper, but I think it's almost, in a way, you're denigrating Kobe and you're denigrating Dwayne Wade, saying they're not as great of players as LeBron, and yet they could be in the conversation. Yeah, I don't think it's as much a rip of LeBron. And I honestly think it's the personal stuff that you exactly said. LeBron's starting an agency. He's friends with all these guys. He's really good friends with a lot of them. He's on the shop. He has these interviews with people. MJ and Kobe are old school in that sense.